Every once in a while, I'll get a comment on my Wallflower video reiterating things I already addressed within the video to try and convince me that my opinion is wrong, despite the fact that I literally say multiple times that I cannot be convinced to like Wallflower as a character. But sometimes those comments pose a very interesting question, or statement, and that statement is that Sunset was much worse than Wallflower, and you're right. So I'm here again today, not to readdress why I hate Wallflower Blush, but instead to explain one fact I'm insanely passionate about. Why I love Sunset Shimmer. So let's get into it. Sunset Shimmer was first introduced in the original Equestria Girls movie that served as a spin-off to the franchise My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. In the movie, Twilight and her friends are stationed in the Crystal Empire for the upcoming Princess Summit. While there, a mysterious figure attempts to steal Twilight's crown. Twilight and her friends give chase, there's a struggle, the crown flies through the portal, plot set up. Once the group rendezvous with Princess Celestia and co., Celestia reveals that she had a student that studied under her before Twilight, and that her name was Sunset Shimmer.
Sunset Shimmer?
Celestia explains that while Sunset was her student, she became driven by ambition and feelings of entitlement, which is why Celestia banished her from the castle. She explains that, whatever her reasons may be, Twilight cannot let Sunset Shimmer obtain her crown and subsequently her element of harmony. This is the basic premise of the movie. As the movie progresses, Twilight learns that this world acts like a mirror to her world, with humanoid versions of her friends back home existing within this one. We learn that through intimidation, Sunset has sown the seeds of distrust through the student body, with no one associating with anyone outside of their cliques. Twilight learns that in order to retrieve her crown, she must win the title of full formal princess at the school's upcoming dance. As someone handed the crown, remember, it passed through the portal first, into the office. Just an absolutely hilarious setup for the rest of the film. Like, I have to give props to the writing team for answering, how do we get the crown out of Sunset's hands once she's already stolen it? Ah yes, Fluttershy. Sunset tries to use her skills of manipulation, intimidation, and Photoshop to keep Twilight away from the crown, but Twilight and her friends persevere. As a last-ditch effort to get the crown from Twilight once she wins the popular vote, Sunset has her minions kidnap Spike. Props again to the writing department for just being absolutely insane in this film, because once Twilight and her friends track down Snips and Snails, Sunset is just standing there with a massive sledgehammer. Now, I'm going to pause here just to really give credit where credit is due, because there was a solid 5-second period where I thought Sunset was just going to brutally maim Twilight's dog in front of her and all of her friends. Like, the stress was real. Sunset tells her minions to let Spike go because he was just a tool to lead Twilight outside, and threatens to destroy Twilight's only way home, the portal. Twilight steps up and admits that she's aware of how capable Sunset has been at sowing disharmony without the use of magic, and says she's willing to be stranded here all alone if it means stopping her. Sunset then surrenders, admitting defeat. Twilight's friends rally around her, boasting how great Twilight is for how she stood up to Sunset, and it's only then that Sunset snaps, launching into a frenzy and tackling Twilight for her crown. There's another scuffle, but ultimately Sunset does manage to get her hands on the crown. She then unleashes the power within it, and with that she becomes corrupted by the crown's magic. It's at this point stuff just gets mental. Sunset blows a hole through the front of the school, mind controls the entire student body, and explains how she's going to march her teenage army into Equestria and overthrow Celestia. Just absolutely batshit. She finally has enough of Twilight and her friends and just tosses a fireball at them, but due to the power of friendship, Sunset is defeated. Twilight then pulls Sunset, simmering, out of the crater they blasted her into with their friendship laser. Sunset apologizes, explaining that she didn't know there was another way. This is very important, keep that in mind. Twilight explains that the magic of friendship isn't some abstract thing that only exists in Equestria, and I quote, "You can seek it out or you can forever be alone."
You can seek it out, or you can forever be alone.
Now that the recap is out of the way, we're going to get into the meat of what this video is actually about. Throughout the movie, we see Sunset as she observes Twilight navigate her way through this new foreign world, a world that Sunset has become very accustomed to a degree. We understand Sunset a lot better when we look into her tone and her phrasing of specific lines, and especially how she carries herself. This is much more pertinent as the movies go on, but that's a whole other video. Now, I have a literal degree in writing. I studied film and classic literature as well as creative writing at university, so this kind of stuff is my bread and butter. Character analysis and specifically dialogue that is important. Dialogue does more than just communicate from character to character. Specific phrasing and line delivery tells us, the audience, different things. There's a reason for everything a character says. It's all a deliberate choice. Sunset's confrontation of Twilight in the hallway is the first clear indication that we get of her character. Before this, she has been snarky, condescending, and mean. These are all parts of a wider picture. In this specific instance, we get to see past the persona of mean girl that Sunset projects for the world to see. It's in the way she says,
You don't know? Seriously?
Because, as we come to find later in the film, Sunset has a tendency to bluff. Sunset in the first movie is mean and aggressive and lashes out at others. All of this is true. But she's also a big fat liar. She's lying her ass off. When you understand that as an element of her character, you start to ask why. Beyond the obvious, she lies because she spreads rumors about people to make others look bad and herself better, like when she frames Twilight for destroying the gym. But we also get another glimpse past this persona after Twilight and her friends fix the gym. We see this in her comments to Snips and Snails.
Next time I ask you to make a mess of things, try to show a little restraint. I need this formal to go on tonight just as much as she does.
Sunset is not the all-powerful, all-in-control person she likes to pretend that she is, and she knows it. And what does that mean? It means that Sunset has insecurities. Sunset has depth. She has motives beyond what is shown on the surface. Of course, those aren't revealed because she can't just monologue at the screen for us to know what her evil plans are, but it also means that she hasn't revealed what they are to the very people she has doing her menial evil tasks. And that is the important piece to the Sunset Shimmer puzzle. We see more glimpses of this in subtle frames, like her watching Twilight reunite her friends on the soccer field. It's quick, but her expression isn't one of annoyance, it's one of panic, that the threads she has spent years winding are being undone, that her plans, that she, isn't good enough. Now we come to the final altercation. Sunset using Spike as bait. It's her line,
Don't hurt him! Oh, I wouldn't dream of it. I'm not a monster, Twilight. Let him go.
because this means that Sunset sees herself as being above certain things, that there's certain lines that she won't cross. This is something that is laid out to us, the audience, to pay attention to. Something Sunset says herself. I am not a monster. And so, what happens next? Twilight calls Sunset out on her bluff, something Sunset admits herself to be true.
I was bluffing when I said I was going to destroy the portal.
Sunset admits defeat.
You win.
It's only hearing Twilight's friends boasting, rubbing it in that Sunset has lost. But not only that, highlighting how Twilight is better than her. Not just in how people like her, but in a level that goes beyond that. She has surpassed Sunset as Celestia's student, because that is what this all comes back to. Sunset's origins were revealed in the comic The Fall of Sunset Shimmer in 2013. We are shown how Sunset behaved as Celestia's student, how she comes to the human world, but ultimately what drove Celestia to banish her from the castle. Sunset came to learn of the mirror's true magic through studying books in the restricted section of the Canterlot Library, after Celestia refused to indulge her about it. It is this betrayal that spurs Sunset's banishment. However, she's able to escape through the mirror before the guards can escort her out. Even back then, Sunset struggled with humility, seeing friendship and connections with other people as trivial and meaningless. So long as she was the best at magic, who cared if she had any friends? Strikingly similar to Twilight before she met her friends. Sunset is the student that Celestia failed. But again, that is a whole other video. But coming back to this final altercation, as Twilight's friends congratulate her on standing up to Sunset, we see a new side to Sunset. Again, it's quick, but it's insanely apparent through her body language. She holds herself, making herself small, reflecting how she feels. She has lost, and worst of all, she is lost. She had planned for everything, except for Twilight. Except for someone with the guts to stand up to her. Except for someone able to compete with her and win. And so Sunset responds in the only way she knows how. Anger. She tackles Twilight for her crown in desperation. She has no plan, and again, this is insanely important. She catches the crown only by sheer luck and dons it, expecting all of her dreams to come true. But that isn't what happens. Now, let's circle back to what I was saying before about dialogue being important and deliberate.
I'm not a monster, Twilight.
But that's exactly what the crown turns her into. Through the transformation process, we see actual tears fall from Sunset's eyes, only to be singed away. The transformation is painful, but most of all, it terrifies her, because she didn't anticipate this. She didn't plan for this. Once transformed, Sunset's main attention is on what is immediately in front of her. Twilight, her friends, Snips, and Snails. She only turns her attention to the students once she hears their panicked yelps as they try to escape from the school. She comments about how they are the reason she had to jump through so many hoops to get her hands on the crown, and that is why she unleashes her newfound magic upon them, making them part of whatever the hell she's scrambling to do. Again, body language is important. As Sunset is monologuing, now that she thinks that she has defeated Twilight once and for all, she has to let Twilight know that this was all a part of her plan all along. Her eyes shift from side to side as she explains her evil scheme, and she does think that she's defeated Twilight, because Sunset believes she has the only thing that is worth having: magic. She even growls, scoffing when Twilight's friends correct her, reminding them both that at the end of the day, Twilight has her friends by her side. And it's at this moment we realize just how the crown has completely influenced Sunset, because she senselessly throws a ball of fire at Twilight and her friends, completely going against what Sunset herself has told us is her moral line. Sunset's whimpered,
I didn't know there was another way.
isn't just an apology. It's her admitting what she truly wanted. It wasn't power, it was love. To be admired. Sunset believed in order to achieve this, she had to be talented. She had to be the best. She viewed Celestia as having achieved that as the ruler of Equestria, and so, studying under Celestia, Sunset felt entitled to more. She was driven by ambition and lashed out in anger when she didn't get what she wanted. What she wanted wasn't power, not inherently. It was knowledge. It was a step up, a step closer to being the best. Sunset herself didn't understand what her true end goal was, because even if she had become the ruler of Equestria, she still wouldn't have felt fulfilled. She admits this in later movies and specials, that while she ruled CHS, she still felt alone.
Sure, I was popular, but I was lonely.
But it was that loneliness that drove her, because it was the only thing that could. Because she was alone, lost in a foreign world with no one to ask for help, because she didn't know how. Sunset is a person who has had to be resourceful and provide for herself for as long as we've known her. When Twilight first comes to the human world, she hides out in the library and uncovers a stack of books that have been fashioned into a bed. Spike commenting on how it looks like no one comes up here. Where do you think Sunset would have gone when she first came through the mirror? Would she not have, just like Twilight, sought out somewhere that seemed the most familiar? We later see Sunset has an apartment. How did she get that? She has had to survive in a world she didn't fully comprehend, because survival is what Sunset is best at. It's her default setting. Because the first time she made a mistake, she was cast aside for it by the one person she aspired to be the most. And that rejection is what turns Sunset into the person we see in the first movie. She instills fear in others because that is easier than being vulnerable. She schemes because she knows knowledge is power. She attempts to control because then nothing can surprise her. Nothing can frighten her. Nothing can touch her. Because to be touched is to risk getting hurt. Sunset's admittal of not knowing there was another way is because she didn't know there was another way. She didn't know she could make mistakes. She didn't know there was an alternative to being rejected, shunned, and frozen out. She didn't know she could be forgiven and loved in spite of her hurtful actions and words. That is why her journey through the rest of the films is so impactful. It's why it's so fulfilling to see her change and to see her grow, thanks to the love and the forgiveness of her friends. She doesn't become a better person just because she was forgiven. She becomes a better person because she's given the room to change, to make mistakes, to mess up, to apologize, and to admit how she reacted to things was wrong and how she works to make it right. Sunset may have been worse than Wallflower, absolutely no doubt about that. But the difference between them is that we are never shown an alternative to how Wallflower is as a character. She never reveals anything deeper than her envy for the life our main villain turned protagonist has worked tirelessly for. As Twilight said, you can seek it out or you can forever be alone. Wallflower isn't a character that seeks out friendship. She attempts, then retreats. She seeks to control, then gets mad when her attempts at that backfire. She feels entitled to the love and the friendship the Sunset has had to sculpt out for herself against all odds. Sunset has had to make amends, not only with the rest of the school, but with herself about the person and the things she used to be. When Sunset offers a hand out to her, much like Twilight did for her, because that is what it took for Sunset, of all people, to turn a new leaf, Wallflower refuses it over and over. Wallflower's shallowness as a character is only highlighted when we compare her to characters like Juniper, who also struggle at making friends with people. We understand her motives for doing what she does is rooted in trying to obtain fame and adoration in order to fill that feeling of loneliness. Wallflower's motivations are just rooted in revenge against someone she has decided has slighted her. It's only when the power is taken out of her hands, the rock destroyed, that she admits that she's done any wrong. And that is after she wipes Sunset's memories entirely. She has the chance, then, to make things right, seeing what Sunset is reverted to. And you see the regret on her face. She had the choice, then, to destroy the stone and apologize for what she'd done. That would have made her story more compelling. That would have redeemed her in my eyes. But she doesn't. She stands there, and she lets the group monologue, and then power up, and she gets her ass blasted for it. Anxiety does not negate your ability to be an asshole, nor does it excuse treating people like shit. It does not alleviate responsibility to be a good person. When her plan to wipe Sunset and Trixie's memories of the afternoon fail, she instead immediately thinks up the best way to hurt Sunset more, because this is personal to her. She doesn't understand, nor does she seek to understand, the lengths Sunset has gone to earn the forgiveness of her friends and her classmates. She ignores the possibility that Sunset herself has things that she struggles with, personally or emotionally. She selfishly decides that Sunset has had an easy life and has received everything that she deserves. And I'm sorry, that's just not a character that I can get behind. If you like her, that's cool. I don't care. No one is saying that you can't like her, but I don't. I cannot be invested in a character that ignores the possibility that you do not have the full picture of someone else's life, of someone who feels entitled to the blessings that another person has and would seek to harm them because of it. And not only them, but their friends as collateral. I cannot cheer on a character that is selfish and vindictive and self-victimizing, who creates their own problem and then refuses the help that is offered, time and time again. Sunset was an antagonist. Wallflower was just bitter. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know down below if you enjoyed this insight into Sunset's character. I'd love to do some more character analysis like this in the future if that's what people are interested in. Until next time.